you were trying to recruit me into this thing or tell me about it.
Okay. Dwight.
Michael, good to see you.
Good to see you too. I didn't know you came to this coffee shop.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm here a lot.
Yeah. What do you order when you come in?
Grande latte. Yeah.
Grande latte.
Yeah.
Is that the middle size or the
I think
big
it's
size?
I think it's the middle size.
Well, have you heard about this thing we're doing in the diocese?
No, what is it?
Yeah, it's a new peer learning communities initiative where we're trying to get congregations to come together and learn together about what it means to be church in the 21st century. Does that sound interesting to you?
Yeah, but so what it means to be church. So this is like it's a program that churches go through, and like tell me more about what happens in it.
It's more like a process than a program. If you think of a program like something you can just plug into your congregation's life, this is more of a learning process than it is a program.
So a learning process. So what do we learn? Or it sounds kind of vague to me. Can you be a little more concrete?
So it's so we're starting with listening as our foundation, trying to pay attention to where God is.
Yeah.
And then we're using action learning. Have you ever had any experience of action learning?
I'm not sure. That sounds kind of technical.
It's the difference between, you sitting here drinking your grande latte, reading, what is that book? Agile Church.
Some crazy guy in Minnesota wrote it.
Oh. So it's the difference between sipping a grande latte and reading Agile Church and trying to think about how that might affect your life.
Yeah.
And you and me going out and doing something and then sitting down and drinking a grande latte and talking about what we just did and what we learned from it.
Okay.
So one of the phrases we use is just behave our way into some new thinking instead of always thinking our way into some new behaviors.
So this isn't about like coming up with like a new strategic plan for our congregation and all that stuff. It's
not aimed at like, dramatically altering anything you're doing. It's kind of like work that's just on the side of whatever else the congregation is doing. We want a small team of people, like 5 or 6 people from your congregation, come to some of these trainings. They're usually held on a Saturday or in an evening, and then you get some assignments and some practices, and you go back and try them together in your neighborhood or in your context, and then come back to the next training and kind of reflect on what you did.
So is it going to help my church grow? Are we going to get new members?
Definitely 1,000. So by the end, I guarantee you get 1,000 new members at the end.
Yeah.
Are you in? No, I'm not sorry. So it's not really aimed at necessarily getting new people in, but becoming a different sort of church that we think will be attractive to other new people that want to be part of churches in your area.
So how long does it take? You say it's
usually it's about 9 months. So we have like 3 trainings in 9 months.
Okay.
So the commitment is 3 trainings in 9 months, and then some actions and monthly meetings in between the trainings.
Okay.
And that's about all it is. You can invite everybody else in your congregation into doing some of the things that you're working on in between your trainings.
And is the pastor running it?
Pastor's not running it, but is part of it. So the pastor, she would accompany you in the work, but she's not necessarily in charge of it or running it. She's just along for the ride.
Well, it sounds kind of interesting. I mean, is it going to be a lot of work? I mean, three days, but then how much in between? Is it like?
You usually say, you go to one meeting a month for an hour with the other people on your team.
Okay.
And then, for example, you might be asked to take a couple of neighborhood walks, 2 or 3 neighborhood walks over 3 months.
And is that like to go out and like recruit people to the church, or do like a needs assessment of the neighborhood?
Do you have a white shirt and a name tag? You don't need that. So you're just going to be walking around your neighborhood, or maybe you're already going to the park or something, and we're just asking you to try to pay attention slightly differently than you might otherwise to see, like, is God present here in some way that I notice?
Okay.
And if so, how? Yeah. So it's really pretty low commitment, but working with the team, you learn a lot because a lot of people will be doing the same things with you.
So it's multiple congregations around the system.
That's what we're hoping for. Yeah, we're hoping to get a number of parishes to do this together, because if a bunch of people are doing it together, then they get to share learning at the trainings. It makes it a lot better.
So we won't be alone doing it. Okay.
Right.
And anyone from our church can be part of the team?
Anybody from your church can be on your team.
Okay.
They just have to commit to coming to the 3 trainings
Okay.
and being part of your monthly meetings.
Hmm.
And then, so maybe one of the biggest differences of this, I don't know, have you ever been in a process like this before? Something church related?
Yeah, you know, we did this, we did a thing, I think it was called like, what was it, National Church Development, Natural Church Development, I think it was years ago, and it was all about like these, like, charts of like, you know, how good were we at different stuff in our church, and
Yeah, oh, well, how good were you?
wow, you know, it was kind of hard. Like, we were good at a few things, but not at other things. And it, you know, I think we felt like we worked really hard to address those things and get better at them. But then, like, no more people came to our church
Yeah.
as a result of that. You know, so I don't know. It was kind of frustrating. It was kind of discouraging.
Yeah. Yeah, I know lots of
Is it like
churches
that?
have been through processes
Yeah.
like that. And this is a process too, so it's similar in some ways, but the
Yeah.
difference is we're entering into this not sure what the particular outcome is. So
Mhm.
sometimes you start a strategic planning process, maybe you experience that at your work or something,
Yeah.
where you're kind of sure where you want to go and you just have to line up the steps to get there.
Yeah.
This is more of a discovery process. So we're not totally sure what comes out at the other end, but we're clear about the steps we're taking, we're doing some listening, we're trying some new things, and we're sharing stories.
Hmm.
And then at the end, ultimately, some learning comes out of it, but we can't predict what it is on the front end.
Sounds kind of fuzzy.
Yeah, I mean, fuzzy in the sense of like, it's not, you don't get to know how it ends. And some people really like that,
Hmm.
the creativity of it, and there's a little more artistic feel to it.
But I'm not an artist. Like, I want to see results.
You're a grande latte guy. Yeah, so what results are you hoping for?
Well,
If you could pick a process and you
Hmm.
could just, and you could say, this is what I want to happen at the end, what would you say? For your church, you've been there a while now, right? How many years have you been there?
yeah, 20 years.
Yeah, and so what do you hope for? What do you hope for that congregation?
You know, I think people in our church want to, I don't know, a lot of people want to grow spiritually, and I think people want more young families to come to church,
Mhm.
and things to kind of stabilize institutionally, you know, like, I mean, so that we're not worried about the budget all the time,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Do you have an idea of why the young families aren't coming? Why do you think they aren't coming?
What sports?
Yeah.
It's all because of sports.
Soccer?
Yeah, it's all because of stuff like that, I think. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, you know, I guess we haven't really asked any of them, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
So one of the things we've experienced is that churches have tried lots of different methods to get young families to come
Yeah.
to church. For instance, like, hey, get a better Facebook page, start tweeting
Yeah.
more, do some research on millennials, get a
Yeah.
younger worship team, some stuff like that. And sometimes that helps, but they're not relationally connecting with
Huh.
those folks, and they're also really not able to say, here's what they care about and here's where God is present in their lives.
Huh,
So
yeah.
instead of lamenting that they're always at soccer, some of what we would do in this process is say, well, why don't you go to one of the soccer games and sit with them and see what they care about and see if there's any way God might be present at the soccer match.
Well, that's an interesting idea. Never thought of that.
And oftentimes, like,
Huh.
some relationships emerge, right, from going out there. So
Huh.
instead of always trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to get them to come to us, in some ways
Hmm.
we want to go to them and see what might be happening there.
Huh, that sounds like it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it a try.
It'll be $40,000.